Jamie and Jennifer Brewer graduated from college, got married, and started buying all the things that come with the American dream.
The job he had, it was like, oh, well, we got to have a truck. So he was going into construction.
And if you're going to get a truck, you might as well get a nice one. It's not my fault it had leather. I mean, it did, and it happened to be the one that we found, and they're paying for it. I mean, really, they were giving us an allowance for it, and it just happened that we spent a little bit more than the allowance, but I mean, it was close enough.
We had been married about a year, I guess, and then it was like, well, gosh, we've been married a year, we need to buy a house. I mean, that's just what you're supposed to do, right?
The American dream, you're supposed to buy a house immediately.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do, so.
You don't want to throw your money away with rent, you know, at least have it going into a house, and that's just what you do. So we thought, and so we did that.
We like this area. It's a historic area, so it's a little bit, you know, that's fine. Let's buy this neat little historic house, and we'll fix it up here and there. And I was in construction, so I could do most of it myself. It'll save us so much money. It's a great deal.
Yeah, and so that was fine. We were both working, and then a year or two later, we got pregnant with our first little girl, and I was like, okay, this house was built in '56. These cabinets, I'm not putting bottles in. We gotta at least have it clean.
You know, if you're gonna renovate, you might as well. I mean, I was building $1 million houses, so that's the thought process that I was in. I mean, if you're gonna do new countertops, why not do granite? If you're gonna do new cabinets, let's go ahead and get the ones that we want. And you know what? I'm gonna rip everything out. I'm gonna go ahead and take it down to the studs, and I'm gonna do the put tile in, and we're gonna just go ahead and do this. And you know what? We'd like that other room to be another bedroom. Why not? And we're in the middle of it. Why not go ahead and do it now before the kids get here? And so that starts adding up. You know, we got the
Then we had Bella, and our car, we had a great, just little car, but the car seat would only fit in the middle of the back seat, and it would still come up kind of into the front seat. And so we were like, we can't get all the baby gear in this, and that's just not practical, trying to crawl over to the middle seat to get her out. And so
we gotta take care of our kid. Come on, we're good parents. We're gonna take care of our children. We're gonna get them a car, and you know, if we're gonna buy one, let's be smart about it. And you know,
we're gonna have more kids.
Right. Let's go ahead and get a Suburban. And once again, it's not our fault that it's loaded. It happened to be the one that we picked.
It was used.
It was used. It was 2 years old. We're doing the smart thing. We're not going to get a new car. We're going to get one that's got a few miles on it. We'll make a smart deal. There's another 20 grand in debt. And my truck was, you know, 17 there. The renovations, 20 there. You know, next thing we know, we're looking around going,
yeah,
we're like 50 grand in debt, 60 grand in debt. What just happened? That doesn't really add up to a lot of margin or a lot of happiness in the relationship.
Our quality time wasn't such good quality, I would say.
We were both from divorced parents, and one of the things that we had always said is, that's not going to be us. There were some days that it was like, well, I don't like you and you don't like me, so let's just stay on opposite sides of the house.
It just felt like we were at a dead end where there was no hope.
She's frustrated, I'm frustrated because we don't know what else to do.
John and Alicia Gray found themselves with a work schedule that left them little time for their marriage.
Working in video production, I felt like I was just trying to do some extra stuff, trying to catch something extra here, something here, trying to, you know, supplement what we were needing, and I think it just sort of got out of control, and it becomes sort of a vicious cycle. You just keep moving, and you don't realize that, you know, it's a day-to-day thing, and there's no light at the end of that tunnel. I think physically I was, and even mentally, I felt like I was just burning the candle at both ends, and I mean, I even look back now, and you feel like, oh, I can handle this. I'm young. I can just continue to do this. And I think you're not aware of what's going on around you. You're not a good husband. You're not at all a very attentive father. You look and you're saying, man, I'm missing this. I look at that first year with our girls and with my son, and you feel like you missed something, and you're like, you can't get that back.
I think I just began to feel like, you know, this was not what I thought it was going to be all about. I'd been on the back burner for so long that when was it going to be my turn to be back up front, or just at least in the mix. I think John did what he could when he could, and you have to pay your bills. So it was hard for me to find that fine line of being angry and yet justifying that I felt like I needed just time from him and that he needed to put me back in the front.
she was very vocal about that. I mean, and we would have our, you know, well, this has got to change and we've got to do this. And, you know, I feel like I would put a Band-Aid on it and fix this and try to do this. And, oh yeah, you know, we're going to just do this one more job, or I'm just going to do this and that's going to really help. And then we would just fall right back into the same cycle.
It was frustrating, and I think that I felt really alone. I felt alone, like I was just doing it all myself. Even though I knew he was doing his part, it just wasn't the part that I wanted from him.
There were moments where I was scared, and there was moments where, like, we had conversations and heated moments where I felt like, wow, I'm not fulfilling my end. I'm not appreciated, or you know, you would get angry, feeling sorry for myself. And deep down, I knew that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. Like, I knew that, but the question was, how do I control that?
Richie and Sherry Shapiro didn't set out to have a marriage that was more convenient than romantic, but that's exactly where they found themselves, only a few years into their life together.
Our relationship was probably best described as roommates. Our conversations were very much based upon cleaning the house and running errands and going to the grocery store.
The schedules for the kids, soccer and ballet.
Changing diapers.
The tires on the car needed changing. We talked about everything except the things that were important. I thought that we would stay connected and that we would have fun and that we would be romantic, and real life just wasn't like that for us. It seemed like we knew there was a problem, but we just didn't want to talk about it. For me, I think it was because I was afraid I was opening the can of worms. If I said something, then we were going to argue, and I didn't want to argue, but if I didn't say anything, it couldn't get better. So it was just like going on a roller coaster, round and round and round, and nothing ever got fixed. It just kept getting worse. Whenever I sat down one night and told him how unhappy I was, he was kind of floored. Like, he just didn't really understand that it had gotten to that point.
And it was manifesting itself in Sherry going out with her friends, staying out late at night. You know, it would be 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It's like, where were you? Well, anywhere except for kind of not with you. Once our oldest daughter was born, I kind of invested a lot of capacity and time into her. No matter what I did or no matter what I said, she never got mad at me. And I missed that from not having that from Sherry.
I kept everything inside. I swept everything under the rug. Yet I still expected him to understand what I wanted and what I needed and how I was feeling, but I never really vocalized that. And so instead I started feeling more and more desperate, more and more hopeless. I didn't think that anything could fix it at that point.